Yeah, we're mucking about with the mic, so it had a little moment and fell down. Well, the pop covery thing. Okay, right, what we're going to get on with today? Well, who knows? I had a little idea a minute ago, and that was to do something with the probes. Okay, so let's have a look at the probes. And I've got a little secret thing I'm working on, which is to do with managing data and loading games and stuff like that, but we're going to work on that offline for the moment. So let's have a look at our probes, okay? Now this is when we probably get into some C++ madness. Oh, that didn't work properly. Because what it should do is, when it does its thing, yeah, it should disappear, but it shouldn't come back. Okay, so that's not right. So let's have a look at that and fix it up. And the idea was to actually do some stuff with the actual probes. So we can have a look at that. And that is in our game menu. And it's in here. Main menu button. And it's in this graph. So when we select this, we go into probe menu, which spawns this BP probe grid. Okay, so we can have a look in here. And we can open this up, and when it begins play, that's fine. Now this is actually moving the mouse around. Sorry, it's moving the grid around, okay? And then I've forgotten how loan program works. That's ideal. Basically, this is going to create a lot of BP grids in C++, and then we can jump into the grid, and it's BP grid. Okay, and then we check if we are in probe mode, and we do that, and on completion of that we need to do one more thing, which is a get all actors of class, and it's actually the probe grid. And basically we cut and paste that. And we put that in there, and this might not work. That's okay, we can just delete that. And that's for each. Now, for anybody wondering why that didn't work, it's because this was a different reference. So it was looking for BP grids rather than BP grid probes, or probe grids. So that's why it didn't like being joined up there, and we had to create it again so that it had a reference to the probe grid. Okay, so there we go. So now when we fire the grid, or fire the probes, it should delete these. Okay. And there we go. Now, the point of this is that this is all smoke and mirrors. This is all just a facade. Okay? I shouldn't really say that, because people who actually, if I put this game out, will realise that this is a facade. But fundamentally it's a facade. What we're going to do is we're going to mine at a location right in the middle, and then we shall determine if or not we have actually found a mineral. Okay? So what we're going to do is, in the probes, we are going to create an actor, and it's going to be called BP mining probe. Okay, so it's not going to be probe, it's just going to be probe. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create this effect which makes it look like we are basically firing lots of probes at the ground, right? But the actual mining probe is going to be in one position, and it's going to see what we find in a particular location. Okay, so what we'll do is we're not going to give it actually we might give it a mesh later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a mesh anyway, right? So add that mesh, and we'll give it a default mesh, just something so that we can get a look at something. We should really give it, don't know what that is. Will we make it a tree? We shouldn't really make it a tree. We could make it a cone. Yeah, let's make it a cone. Right? Except we'll rotate it 180 on the Y, so that it points down the way, right? We shall save that, then we shall actually move it up a bit. Now it'd be nice we could actually spin it round, but you're not going to see anything because it's pure white, but you know, that's the point. So what we're going to do is basically when they hit that button on the probe, right, which is on the actual grid, okay, then what we're going to do is we are going to spawn our item. So we can go about spawning the item here. So we do spawn actor from class, and we shall spawn our mining probe. Okay. We'll split the struct. What we'll do is we shall rounded mouse location, and have we got, yeah, we have, beautiful. Right, so we've got our link to our controller, so we can just say get controller, then we can plug it in here, and we don't have a grid size, so let's make it 50. We can muck around with that later, right? And this goes into the transform location. Okay, so this is giving us a rounded mouse location vector. This is a C++ class, helper class. So it just basically takes in, it basically goes and gets the cursor position and then rounds it to the nearest 50. So it will give us a grid coordinates of like 50, 50, 150, 0, or 2500, 2500, and blah blah blah, but it's going to be divisible by 50. Okay, that's the point. So as per usual, let's just check to see if that actually works. So we should see, if we do our probes, right, and then we fire our probes, there is our point. Okay. So we've got that, and then we want our mining probe. It's basically what we're going to do in the short term is it's going to spin. It's going to spin for a wee while, and then it's going to decide. Let's say we're going to do int in range. So this thing is going to spin for, let's say, between 45 and 90 seconds. So it's going to spin for 45 to 90 seconds, and then it's basically going to decide if it has found any minerals, right? Okay, so everything's going to have to change a bit. So hang on a second until I shut this door, because there's a lot of noise coming out of a room in the house. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Hopefully that's a bit better, a bit quieter. Right, anyway, so fundamentally what we're going to do is found minerals, we'll copy this, Copy that. Right, in the short term, we don't really want it to take 45 seconds to do this crap. So we'll make it take between 5 and 10. Obviously, it's going to be a bigger number in the end game or whatever. And it's going to depend on the level of probe you've got, right? So what it can find will be determined by the research you've done. Its probability is going to be determined by the research you've done on probes. So let's say, for example, you haven't unlocked gold mining, right? Then you won't obviously be able to find gold. But the probe, if it's like a higher level, then there's a higher chance it's going to find a useful mineral for you. And the higher level, or the idea behind this is the higher the level of the probe, then the more mineral it finds. So for example, a level 3 probe might find 10,000 of a specific mineral, whereas a level 1 can only find a maximum of 5,000. And then the level 2 would, you know, if you were to do it that way, it would be 7,500 is the maximum, right? But that's the basics of how the probe is going to work, right? So a probe might not find anything, right? Or it might not find anything useful. So we have to work on that, but functionality wise we need to get the thing actually doing something first. So we have to set timer by function name, and it's not going to loop, right? And it's going to be that. Then this number is going to go in here. And that's that. So then it's going to run into here, right? Now this is going to take major changes because at the moment our what do you call it? Our little Mars rovers are the things that go and find these minerals, okay? So fundamentally we can check this out by spawning. If we spawn actor from class, right? So we're just going to spawn this whatever, right? We're just going to spawn a mineral. So it's going to be BP mineral, and we're going to get reference to self. Okay. Right, I hate when it does that shit, but anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this struct, then we're going to split this struct. Now, if I'm right, our default scene root should be at 0, 0, 0 and not minus the Z on this particular case, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the actor location anyway. So we're going to get the actor location, right? Then we're going to split this struct. And we're going to plug in X and Y, right? And then after that, we're going to basically destroy self. So destroy actor, and it's going to be self. So we're going to create a mineral, and then we're going to destroy ourselves, right? And that's going to be at some time within 5 and 10 seconds. which we can obviously change. So if we try that, okay, and we fire the probes, you'll notice that we've got a probe there, and there we go. There is our mineral. Now we obviously want to wait till all this crap's gone. Well, it's going to be gone anyway, because the time that it takes will be a bit of time, and all of the explosions of the probes are going to be complete by then. But fundamentally that's what we want to do. And then we want to set is found. Now what we need to actually do here is check what our actual rovers do, okay, to set this, because we might have to basically follow the same principles. Because if this spawns a mining constructor within the AI, then we need to replicate that. So if we go to vehicles and the AI, and then we look at the tree, hey dev guy, how you doing, mate? Right, so we need, it's doing this task of, actually it's not, this is it here. Okay, so what it's doing is a scout, then we're waiting, then hi Sponex. Looks like bots in this chat or something. Right, so task reset. Tell me a bit about your game, Sponex. So if it's equal to found minerals, what does it do is the question. So it sets a value and then just gets the hell out of there. Okay. That just gets the destination to move to. And this one here, this is the part here. So let's see what this does. No interested in FPS shooter games, mate. 10 a penny. Everybody makes them. Right, so what we're doing here is we're spawning the miner. Actually, we're not. We're actually spawning the mine. So that's the wrong thing. So I'm guessing yeah, well, unfortunately for you, the multiplayer is the hard part. So that isn't where we spawn the actual we need to find out where we set the mine, right? So it's basically when this I know where it is. It's an AI controller when it perceives the mineral. Duh. Okay. Well, I didn't tidy that up much. Probably not. I'm sorry. So we get a vehicle, BP mineral, set the vehicle status, but where do we set? And here is the spawn actor part. Right, so this is the part where it actually spawns the vehicle. And then we set the target location. Right, so we can do that. We can remove this delay out of the way. And this code needs tidied up a bit. It was some of the first code in this project, and it was just to get it working, so it's a bit weird. Give me a second, SpawnX. I'm gonna, if you're still there, I'll find something for you. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. I'm just trying to find them a decent video to watch. I'm just wondering if this is the one that I used. No, that's not the one I used. Right, so he's looking for a multiplayer system. Just give me a second to see if I can find the one that I actually followed. And apparently I can't find it. This might be it. Of course it might not be. Okay, I'm sorry, at this point I can't find it, and I'm not going to muck around too much while I'm streaming, so we shall carry on. But basically just look for a tutorial on multiplayer lobbies and stuff. It's the best way to go. So what we need to do now is we need to replicate this code here, right, basically in our mining probe. Okay, so we can, let's see what we've got here. We're going to have to reference the blackboard for it, which is going to be fine. So we shall copy that, and we shall paste this into our code for the mining probe. And then once we have done that, we're going to get the blackboard and we're going to set these vectors, which is fine, right? And our mineral is going to be this one. Okay. And I'm not sure if we need to set up anything else, but we'll try it anyway and see what happens, right? So we're going to break this, but we still want to do it at the end here. We still want to destroy ourselves. So we'll do that. Okay. Then, just for a giggle, we are going to plug that in there. And actually, this is the mineral. So we actually need to pull it out of here. Okay, so we can drag it right along here and we'll go in there. We can delete this. Now, if this kind of works completely correctly, which it won't of course, right, because we're going to spawn this in the wrong place probably. And the spawn transform location comes from this. So we can copy this. Now this is getting this is basically getting the base position. Okay. So we can control paste that and then this is a vector, so this is going to go in here, right? But right, we're going to sort this out. So this is a get, and then this is a get. Got lots of gets here. We get that. Then we make our vector from that. Okay. Then we can basically drag this up a bit. We can drag this along a bit, and we can place this up here. Okay. Then once we've done that, we can drag that, then we can put that in there, and then we can tidy this up in a minute. What this is basically doing is it's spawning the mineral, right? And then it's spawning a vehicle, and it's changing its type to a mining constructor. Okay, now in the mining, that means that it's going to go down this path. This is the mining constructor. So then it's going to do these things, okay? And this is for the transporter, which we actually aren't using anymore. So there's that. So if we go back to our mining probe, and that actually compiled. I'm quite surprised at that. Now, the interesting thing now, this target position vector is going to have to be set, right? And it is coming from the mineral, I believe. Yeah. It's coming for the flag point of the mineral. So we can transpose that over, right, by getting our mineral. And we are actually going to move it down here. We'll move this down as well. So we'll start kind of tidying this up a bit. And we want, off of this BP mineral, we want flag point. Okay. And off of flag point, we want location. And then this will go straight into here. So we're basically using the code that was originally done for the AI tasks, and we're swapping it out to actually now run on the minerals itself, which is kind of the point in the end. And we shall basically start tidying this up. So we shall do that and that. So there's not as much spaghetti, and it all kind of looks half decent. We shall put that in there. Then we shall drag this down. And that's beginning to look a bit tidier. Right, we have an enum value here, and we are going to clean on that up a bit. So this is going to go to here. Then we shall straighten that out a bit. And move that to there, and that gives us a bit more tidiness. Then we shall move this across, and that's all a bit better, I would say. And now we don't work. Right. So I'm guessing, yeah, I'm guessing that goes there, right? So we'll save that, and we are now all set. And that's all set up. Save that. Save all. And let's run it and find out if it actually works. Okay, so now we have we can do our probe. We have set our probe. And there it goes. Here comes our mining constructor. That is awesome. Here it comes. It'll stop there. Then it will make a mine. And there we go. Voila! One mining constructor. Awesome. Now let's find out what it is. Apparently it's nothing. Right. Well, that's okay. So what we need to do now is we need to check our mining constructor to see when it builds the mine. Right, so basically we kill our cell, we spawn the miner, and then we have a type and a amount, right? And that is coming from the BP mineral. Okay, so all of those are coming from the BP mineral. Okay. So, is this going to work? So this spawns the mine, okay? And it's getting the blackboard volume. Sorry, it's getting the blackboard values, but these values are actually coming from the mineral itself. Okay? So, what we need to do here is we need to look at the mineral to see if it's setting itself up properly. So let's have a look at that. So we can look at minerals, and we can look in here, right? Now we know that we can put a breakpoint in once the game has started, and then it won't loop through all the blueprints, right? So now that that's done, we can actually add a blueprint, a breakpoint in the blueprint, right? So basically we can add a breakpoint here. So this is the type. So it's good. This is it basically setting up the mineral. So it looks for all the minerals and adds them to an array, and then picks from that array. Okay. So fundamentally we should hit a breakpoint here, but the first thing we need to do is do the probe thing, and then once it's done its probe thing, it should break there, which is perfect. Okay, and it should we've got that. We should step over, and now at the end of the day we want our BP variable we want to know if this actually breaks, right? So fundamentally we should now have, which we have a mining constructor heading towards our mine. Now it's going to break here. Actually, no, it's not. Right, so that isn't our mine. So we're going to resume that. Now this one is. This one is our miner, so when we hit the breakpoint here, which we did, we don't have anything. Yeah, that's right. Translation rotation's fine, right? We have got our miner. Now, mineral amount is 0. Ore type not in. Okay, so we're going to resume that. So it built our mine. We're not interested in that. So what we need now is this BP mineral is set properly on our actual mining constructor. So if we go back to our BP mining probe, we've got to make sure that our mineral is set up. There's our mineral. Okay. And we get the blackboard. We're not, well, yeah we are, but there's our mineral, and our mineral is going in there, which actually should be the mineral. Okay, so if that is the mineral, right, then that should actually be correct. Right. No, that should be okay. Let's look at the AI vehicle again. Right, so when we're setting that up, that's fine. We're setting that up, and we're getting the flat. So that part's all working exactly how we expected, right? The only point that's not working at the moment is our mineral, right? So the easiest way to do this is if we go into our maps, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of the explorers. So none of the explorers are going to be on the map, which basically means that we have a free reign every time. We can check our AI, etc., and check what the values are, right? So we shall do that right now. So we can delete him, can delete him. Right, and we can delete him and him, and not that. We can delete him and him and him and him. Right, so now we have an empty field to check out, right? So what we can do is we can basically do this, right? So we knew that was going to happen. We can resume, and then we can break this, okay? Now, when we do this, we should be creating an amount okay, which we are not for some reason, or apparently we're not doing it in the miner. Yeah, we're doing it in the mineral, right? So we'll find the references for that, and we're setting the amount somewhere, which is in there. Right. So we're setting a calculate somewhere. We're doing this somewhere. And we want to find it wherever it is. It's going to be in the task, I believe. Mineral, calculate, vehicles, AI, and there we go. So here it's here, right? So this is the kind of stuff we copied. So literally what we have to do is do the calculate, right? So we can stop this for the moment, and if we go back into our mining probe, okay, what we have to do here is drag off this and calculate. Now, I don't think this is the end of our problem, but we're gradually getting there. Going to fix this up, and then basically we have our probes working as they should. Right, they're not calculating much at the moment, but the functionality is there. It's doing what we should. The mining constructors are then going and doing their thing, which is what we want, which is cool. So what we want in here is fine. We can delete this because that's rubbish. So we can tidy up these as we go. Okay. So we should have we should be able to check this basically. We disable that for now. Resume. Then we can re-enable it. Then we can enable a breakpoint, let's say here. Okay. And we can basically go to our AI, or in fact we can do our probe, and then it should give us vehicle. Right, now let's see if we actually have a vehicle. Not at the moment, so we'll have to resume that. Resume that. Now we should have a vehicle. Okay, so we should be able to go in here and check this out. So it's doing the thing. And I think there it goes, it's done its thing. Right, now if we go into here, right, do we have a mineral? Indeed we do. There's our mineral, right? So if we go back to our task, we should be able to step over, and then this should be a mineral, which it is. Then we do have that. We have a mineral amount of value 0. So fundamentally it's not doing the calculate. Right? So we can resume that. So we should have checked the ore type, to be honest. But this should now give us a clickety-click button on this miner, right? But it's doing nothing. So in the short term, let's have a look at the miner 49er. So in here, when we click on it, that's it doing its process. Right, so it's in here. And breakpoint, right? So it should be here. And it ain't doing jack. I wonder if it's some were set to probe. Let's check again. So it is going in here, right? And we need to know what this current game mode is. And it is set to probe. So I'm sorry, random hero, I don't speak French. You something why? You are bad, why? Why are you bad? Why are you ugly? I don't know what that means. Maybe somebody with better French can tell me. Right, so fundamentally we're still in probe mode, which is obviously not what we want, and we're going to have to fix that. Now we are going to do that after I take a short break of about 3 minutes. So I shall be right back with you in 3 minutes or so. Okay, thanks for sticking around. We'll get back to this. We've got one little thing to change here, and we should be up and running. And that is when we go to a mining probe. And just before we destroy ourselves, what we're going to do is we need one thing, which is something I always set up, okay, as default, except I haven't done it this time, and we need a reference to the controller for this. So it's going to be of the type FE controller. We can do that, then we can pull it in, we can set it, then we do player, controller, and then finally we do a single cast, and we cast to FE controller, and we pop this in here. We pop this down here, this over here, then this can go down here. We can move these down a bit out of the way, it's going to change anyway. Okay, so that goes to there, that goes to there, that goes to there, that goes to there, and finally we can now pull in our controller, zoom in so you guys can see it, and that's going to be current game mode, and we can set that to normal. So basically now we have removed our need for our little rovers to roam about, because we can basically build a mine wherever we want. So we shall disable that breakpoint, resume that. Okay, we can move out of here, we can do a probe, then basically we can probe. Does its little thing where it simulates us chucking probes down, but our actual probe is here. Now we could actually make it so that it throws probes down on every square that we actually selected, right? And then we can do this and just select one of the probes. Select one of the probes and delete all the others, and make that the actual position of the mine. And we can disable that and resume. And we should have, here's a rover. The rover is now coming over to view us. See what's going on, right? And it should now build us a mine. So we have another breakpoint going on. We should be able to disable all the breakpoints now. Zoom that. We don't really need to know about that. Okay. And now resume that, and there we get it. There's our miner with our copper ore 2800. Nicely done. So we can disable that. And we can basically say that everything is working as intended. Now, the one thing we're going to do here is, I'm going to show you, we're going to change this basically to being the fact that you can't build certain buildings, and the miner being one of them, as it's basically got a mechanism for building itself, which is the probes. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to, I believe we need to go into struct and data, and we have DT menu buildings, and here is the struct for the buildings. Okay, and I've now got a cost, but we need one more thing, which is can player can build. Okay, so we save that, and then we can go into our data table, and we have our buildings here, and this one is going to be true. These are all going to be true apart from the miner. Okay, so we'll save that, and then when we go to the main, not the main menu, but basically the buildings menu, and we go to the box select, this is the one that's going to select all the different, so we're selecting names from here. Okay, now remember, the point of this is to stop them building miners, or the availability of building miners, put it that way, right? So this is going to be a branch, and if this is true, then we build the widget. Okay, if it's false, we don't. So we can save that, and we can press play, and now you'll notice that we've only got 3 buildings, which is exactly what we want. And you'll notice that they're all red, and that is because we don't have the product to build them. But we can quickly fix that. Hi Jess. We're going to tidy this up a bit because it's a bit messy crap, right? And we are going to put the image in there. The stream's doing fine. We're doing well. Right, so as I said before, I'm going to close this down because I want a fresh set. So basically what we're going to do here is we've got our buttons that are now dependent on, number 1, if the player's allowed to build them, and number 2, the price. So at the moment these are all too expensive, but what we can do is we can go to our controller and add in some basic materials to our inventory. Okay, we shall just tidy this up a bit. This was the space credits that we added last night. So we should have by default products available, and if we clear that for the moment, and then we can add it. We can add 2 members, and let's say we have bauxite, and we have 20, and one more item, which is going to be copper ore, I believe, and we're going to have 20 of that. Okay, just bear in mind that if the structs are exactly the same, then there's no point in creating 2 different structs. You can base data tables on the same struct, so you could have 2 data tables, one for the NPCs and one for your enemies, but they can still use the same struct. Okay, so what we can do now is, if we look at the menu and click here, you'll notice that we can now build a refinery. Now this one is 30 and 30, so just to give you the idea here, is if we change this to 40 and this to 40, then we should have enough to build any of the buildings. So we should be able to just press play here, and there we go. All the buildings are now available to build. So that is that. So there we go. So we now have another way to build or to find minerals, okay? Which is kind of the concept I wanted. As I said, you'll use the probes. Now we might actually do some, because I think these are too big. This area is far too big for what our request is. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to change it, and we're not going to make it as big a range. Okay, so this is done in C++, the building of the grids. So in fact we're going to change it and it's CPP grid probe, I believe. It might not be, of course. We should really check it out, shouldn't we? We should really find out what our probe grid is based on. Now, why is this not loading up properly? Oh, I think I know. I think I need to refresh the project. So we're going to refresh the project, and then we're going to load up our C++. Then we're going to make slight adjustments to the size of that grid, basically. Okay. That's if I can remember how to do it. So we should be able to open now. And we'll see where we go from here. And it's loading up. And now, come on, you know you want to. Let's get this opened. And there we go. Right. So in CPP grid probe, right, Yeah, that'll be good, Jess. So we're doing a range. I'm not happy about that much, to be honest. Right, so that is not. Ah, here we go. It's 2 to 3. So what we can do here is we can just say 1 to 2 because we like that. Now later on we can actually make this relative to your probe research. Okay, so this might go up depending on probe research, but in the short term we're going to save that, then we press compile up here, we get our little compiling thing, and then once it's ready it'll beep and we can try it. Now this is a hit and a miss on how long this is going to take. It might take 5 seconds, it might take 50. It just really depends. It depends on the speed of your computer and depends on what you changed, whether it was the header, whether it was a CPP file. It just really all depends. It can be fast, it can be slow. But we shall see from here where we're going with this, and we shall take it from there. Come on. Well, this should definitely give us a smaller grid by one in either direction. So the maximum size is going to be 4 and the minimum will be 3. So we'll see where we go from there. Once this thing actually compiles. It can be sometimes faster to compile it from here and then compile it in here, because if you've already built it in here, it's a lot faster. It just depends. Right, now this might actually not have made any difference. Because you'll notice here I'm actually doing the 1 and 2. So we might actually want to cancel that, right, and go back in here and then basically say 0 and 1. Right, and then copy that and paste it in here, copy that and paste it in there, copy that and paste it in there, then save that and we can build it here. Then we can check it once this compiles. Come on, it's taking its time. Is it going to find anything? Is it going to compile? Is it going to compile today, is the question. This is actually, you know what? This is probably because, now I'm not 100% sure on this, so don't quote me on it, but this is probably because I've refreshed the project and then brought this in again. So basically it's as if it's compiling it for the first time, and that's why it's taking so long here. But I'll tell you what I'll do is have a quick cigarette while you guys and myself are waiting for this to compile. So I shall be back in a moment, guys. Okay, we're back and it looks like it's succeeded. So what we can do now is compile it in UE4. And there you go, compile complete. You'll notice it was a lot quicker that time. Now when we actually do the probe thing, it's going to do it. You'll notice it's much less, right? Which is, I would say, that's cool. Right, so what it does is it basically selects whether it's going to draw the outside grid or not. and you'll notice that there'll be one more comes in here, or should, yeah, there you go. Right, so I'm liking that better, to be honest. Definitely liking that better. And yeah, Jess, I'm using C++. All it does is calculate a grid between 1 or 2 steps this way, 1 or 2 steps to the right, 1 or 2 steps up to the top, 1 or 2 steps up to the bottom, right? And from there, it'll take the outside values and it will be a 50% whether it will draw them or not. So that gives you your sort of random probes, shall we say. Okay, so if I show you that again, it might make more sense, right? So basically, it draws a 3x3 grid, and then it takes away left or right and up or down, right? Dependent. So it just gives me a random grid. It just looks better than a, you know. And then once you press the button, it sends explosions down to hit the places that you actually selected. So we should see 2 more come in. There's the one, and there should be one more. There it is. Okay. And that's the way it works. And now we have a rover comes in and builds our mine exactly where we wanted. So at this point I've got to do the thing that all YouTubers do, and I've got to shell a bit. So comment and subscribe, check the description for links to help me out, and that's my shillings over. Okay, so thanks for putting up with that. So the next thing we need to do is, well, I don't know actually. Well, we can work on this probe thing a bit more, right? So what we can do is we can go into our probes and we can start actually connecting stuff. Okay? And deciding what our probe actually does. So what we do is we're going to need, that's the probe grid, okay? So that's not what we want. We want the actual mining probe. So the mining probe is going to have a variable. I don't think we're going to need a struct for this because it ain't going to be that. We could, maybe. Nah, for the moment I'm not going to bother because there's not going to be very many variables. It's only going to be the level of the probe. So we're going to call it probe. Apparently we're not going to call it anything because they decided to do something else. Probe level, and that's going to be an integer, and it's going to, we're going to save it and we'll default it to 1. And what we could actually do here, right, is, if you're still watching, Jess, this is for you. What we want is to link a data table to our probes. But what we want to say is which level you need to be able to find a particular item, okay? So this is going to be linked to 2 things. It's going to be linked to the actual item, and it's going to be linked to the level of your probe, okay? So the probe level is going to have something to say about it, but now what we want is we want to look at our recipes and our products to find out where the best place to put this is. Okay? Because our miner shouldn't be, at present, our miner is deciding what mineral gets picked. And it's 50-50 whether it's copper or whether it's bauxite, okay? Now that's fine for testing purposes, but once we actually do this, then it's not going to be exactly what we want. So, what we're going to have to do is, we're going to have to get our categories, and we're going to have to get our miners, okay? So, we've set this up properly. We've got a category of where it is made, right? So the things that we mine are under the category miner. So we can mine bauxite, gypsum, silicon, gold, silver, and that's it, okay? So in theory, when our probe decides what we actually want to turn the mine into, right, it's going to decide what the mineral is, right? It's going to decide what the mineral is and basically tell, it's going to be here. It's going to tell this what it is, okay? So, what we're going to have to do is get data table, and we're going to get row names, okay? And we're going to need a variable, and it's going to be temp minerals, and it's going to be of the type struct product, okay? And we're going to be getting products, okay? Then we are going to be doing a for each loop on that. Okay, and then we're going to be doing a get data table row. Now we're only needing to do this once, so we need to make sure we put this in the right place so as not to do it too many times. But in effect, what we're going to do is we're going to get this array of minerals, then we're going to add unique, then this is going to be data products, okay, and then we're going to come out here and we're going to break it, right, and then that might not be products. It's items. Duh. Right, okay, whatever. Right, we're not going to get products, we're going to get items. I should really delete that products table because it doesn't make any sense now, to be honest. But we can now do this in break items, and then we can say, is it equal to miner, which is correct. And if it is equal to the miner, then we add it to our new temporary array. Okay, so we can move that to here. Then we can place this in the right place. We can say true to here. Then we can make it a bit tidier by then moving this to here. And here we go. So that basically makes our array of the things that we can pick. Okay? So what we can do is we can break this and we can place this in here. Now we need to make one more change. Okay? Because the point here is that each of these products here in DT items is going to have a level. Okay, so if we look here again, we've got minor, minor. So fundamentally we need another struct. Okay. Sorry, we need to make a change to the struct. So we'll come in here, and the thing we actually need is another new value, and it's going to be called research level. Now this is going to be an integer at the moment, so we'll save that, and this is going to be an integer which is going to relate to the level that you have actually researched. Okay, so what we'll do in this case is we're going to say bauxite and copper ore are level 0. These are all level 0. In fact, for the moment, we're going to say everything's level. Wait a minute. Gold ore is going to be different. That's going to be like level 2. And let's say silver ore is level 1. Okay. Now, that being the case, what we need to do is in our mining probe, our actual probe level, the default is going to be 0. So we'll save that. Oh. Wait a minute. So we're getting table rows, breaking that, and temp minerals. We need to set that as an array. Okay, bit of a goof, but never mind. So this will actually go in here, and our out row will go straight into here. And this is not that. This will be struct items. And once we've got struct items, we should be fine. So this should go in here. But since we've mucked the whole thing up, we may as well do the whole thing again. So we can add unique if it's true. But there's one thing that we haven't done here. Which is to check our research level, right? So we need to check our research level against our probe level. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say if that is greater than or equal to, which we didn't select there out of complete stupidity, right? So we'll try that again. If that is level or equal to, and then we'll say and boolean, so we'll join those two together. And then this and should go in here. Okay, so we're checking our level and we're checking that it's a minor, and if it is both of those things, we can join it on. Alright, we can join it on to our array, and that'll be us done with that. Okay, and then our completed should basically go in here. But what I think we'll do is we'll move that out of the way for a moment. We'll move this up out of the way for a moment. And what we'll do is we shall add a custom event. And we shall say get temp minerals. Okay. And then what we'll actually do here is we shall cut that out, move this down and make it a standalone event that it's going to do. It's just to keep things tidy within the code. Right, so now we can basically say get temp materials here. Get temp materials, minerals even. And then what we can do is we can actually do this to here. And now what we can do is we can check this by setting the probe level. So we can save that. So on the first pass through, this temp materials should basically be just, well, we can have a look, right? Should be bauxite, copper ore, gypsum, silicon should be like a level 1 or 2, but we'll work on that later, right? So it should be those. It should be gypsum, copper ore and bauxite. And then if we turn the level up to 2, we should get them all, which should be the bauxite, the copper ore, the silicon, gold, silver, etc, etc. Okay, so what we shall do is we'll go back to our mining probe, and then when it actually does this, we shall have our array set up And there we go. So if we have a look at this, we should now be able to have a look at our array. And we have bauxite and copper ore, at least. Now, I think it's not going to show us in here, but basically we have our temporary array, and when we create the amount, we calculate the amounts, etc. of the mineral, we can basically stick it in here, right? And that's going to give us the amount. And this is all going to be determined from the probe level. So I think the best thing here is to get this array, right? And get the length. Well, we just need to say length. So we want the length, and then we're going to do a print string, right? And we're going to change that to 20. Okay. And we put the length in there. And we do that. And we do that. And we disable the breakpoint. So this should give us a length of 3, I believe, in the first instance. So we do a probe. And it should give us a 3 up here. I'm not 100% sure what that does say. But yeah. Our research level. And that should be probe level. Right, so that was kind of weird, but I think we need an append on this so that we can see it properly. So append, right, and this value is going to go in here, and then basically what we do is a load of spaces. And then we put that in there. Then we can save that, press play. Set up our probes to go. There we go. And we should get a value in a minute. And it's, does that say 6? Apparently it says 0. So let's add a breakpoint. So if the research level, it's the other way around. If the research, if the probe level is greater than or equal to the research level, right? So we're going to save that, press play, and we can stick a breakpoint in here, right, and it's added on at least. So it's going to add bauxite, resume, and it's going to add that. So we have a length of 3, that's what we wanted. So we can resume that and stop that, and then if we change the probe level to 3, then this should be 6. So we go to the probe, hit that, resume that, right, and now this should be a higher number, 6, correct. So that's working fine. So we now have our random, sorry, not random at all actually. So the minerals that we can find are defined by anything that is defined in here as mined, plus the research level of the probe is greater than equal to the research level that we currently are at. Okay. So then we've got a temporary array of those things that we can actually mine, find and mine. So we can now go and create the mineral with that particular thing. Okay, now we may actually end up making this mineral to be invisible, or not even have a mesh. I'm not 100% sure on that because it kind of doesn't really matter. The point being that as long as we've got a spawn point, we can send the mining constructor to that point. So I'm going to continue this offline, and I shall be streaming later in about 4 hours time. That's 8 o'clock Central Time, or what is it, 2 AM in the UK. So I'd be happy for you to join me then, and if you've enjoyed the stream, thank you very much. And as I said, you can check out the description or subscribe, and that's the final shill of the evening. So I shall catch you all later. Thanks for joining. Bye.